Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be discussing about how to apply for temporary resident visa for both PGWP and SOWP permits. So recently, me and my spouse we received our PGWP plus SOWP extension, and I created a video around it, like what was our timeline, when did we apply for it, and when did we receive the PGWP and SOWP extension. And along with that, also uploaded a video where I tell like what all documents you need to collect in order to get both of your applications to be processed together, or if you want to even get it processed individually. So you can refer that video. I'll leave the link to those videos in the description box. And in today's video, I'll be discussing about what happens after we get our PGWP, how to apply for temporary resident visa for PGWP and SOWP extension together, and documents that are required to upload for TRB. So, what all documents will be required to upload for temporary resident visa, and then I'll also be discussing how to fill forms in the TRB application. So, stay tuned till the end. I'll be discussing all these points, and it is very important to apply for temporary resident visa once you get your PGWP and SOWP extension. It is really important because if you want to travel outside of Canada and you want to come back to Canada, so in that case a you should have the visa stamp on your passport. So it's really important to apply for TRB. So stay tuned till the end and consider subscribing to our channel if you haven't subscribed yet. So without any further ado, let's get started. So once you log in into your GIC account, you have to go to apply to come to Canada, start an application. So once you click here, you can start for your TRV application. And then you have to go under this determine your eligibility and apply online. And you have to click on visitor visa, study, and slash or work permit. And you have to click on it. Once you are on this page, then you will be asked few questions in order to find out that you are eligible or not. And as you answer these questions, as you proceed ahead, you will be given all the list of documents that you have to upload, and then you can proceed further with your application. So let's see what are these questions. So what would you like to do in Canada? So the correct option would be work. Since I got my PGWP and SOWP extension for my spouse, we will be working here in Canada. So we got our open work permits. So how long are you planning to stay in Canada? So over here, the most feasible option would be temporary more than 6 months. Then select the code that matches the one on your passport. So let's say India. Then what is your current country slash territory of residence? If you are presently in Canada, you can select Canada. So let's select Canada over here since we are currently residing in Canada and we are applying for this TRV application from inside of the Canada. Do you have a family member who is a Canadian citizen of PR and is of 18 years or older? So for my case, it's no. Then what is your date of birth? So it is asking for your date of birth. So you have to go and select your date of birth over here. So let's say you select your date of birth and then you will click on next. Now it says, are you a lawful PR of US? So let's select no. That is what is in my case. And then we will select next. Then what is your current immigration status in Canada? So the option would be worker. Then we will click on next. Finally, it will ask you some more questions. Does one of the following apply to you? So you can go through them carefully. For me, none of these apply. So I will select no. Then are you a spouse of a person who holds a work permit? So in this case also for me the correct answer would be no, so I'm selecting no. You can go through the options carefully and then you can select yes or no depending on your situation. Then are you a spouse or dependent child of a person who is? So one of these options, it did not apply to me, so I will select no over here. But read it carefully. If it applies to you, then in that case you can select the correct option. Are you a spouse or common law partner of an accredited diplomat? So in that case, the option would be no for me again. And I will click on next. Now it is asking you few other questions. Have you been told by an IRCC office that you are approved in principle of PR in Canada? So for me, the correct option is no. Have you submitted a PR application in Canada? Let's say I say no. Do you have a written job offer? We'll select no over here. In case if you don't have a job offer or depending on whatever is your situation. Then it said, does this situation apply to you? You have a valid employer specific work permit and are being abused. So the situation will not apply. So let's say no. And then we'll select next. Then it says, what is your marital status? So I'll say married over here. Then depending on the status that applies to you, you can select the status in this particular drop down. Then what is your province or territory of destination? So let's say I'm currently in this province, and then we'll click on next. Then based on the information you have provided, it will show you that you are applicable to apply to TRV. That is you will need a TRV to return to Canada. So if you're going to travel outside of Canada, you will need this particular visa. Now we will click on continue. Now it says you're almost there. You have to check your personal checklist. Again, we will click on continue. It says which of the following best describes your situation. So let's say I have an open work permit. So I selected this option and we will click on next. Have you had a medical exam performed by an IRCC authorized panel physician doctor within the last 12 months? Let's say no. So I don't fit in one of these categories that are mentioned over here. Medical exam is needed before you submit your application for foreign nationals who, for them, they have given certain criteria. For these people, they are required to submit a medical exam. So you can go through these options. Since I don't fall into one of these options, I will select no and I'll click on next. Then it says, do you want to work in one of the following jobs? Since I'm not working in any of these following jobs, I will select no. But however, you can read these options carefully, and depending on which option suits you better, if any one of the options suits you, then you have to select yes over here. So no is in my case, and then we'll click on next. Then find out if you are eligible to apply. So it says, do you want to submit an application for a family member? So I'll say yes because I want to submit the application for my spouse along with my application. Then I'll click on next. If you are submitting applications for more than one family member, please start with your spouse or common law partner if it applies. So I'll again click on next. Then it says, what country does your family member live in? So let's say Canada. Which country issued your family member's passport or travel document? So you have to select your home country's travel document. So whatever country has issued your family member's passport or travel document, you have to select that code. Then I'll click on next. Then we'll check what is the next question. So it says, is your family member a PR or US? So let's select no over here. That is in my case. Depending on what is your case, you can select yes or no. Then we'll click on next. Then what is your family member's current marital status? Say married. Then what is your family member's date of birth? So we'll select the date of birth. And then where will your family member be staying in Canada? So you can select the province where the family member will be staying. And then you click on next. Then it says, what is your family member's current immigration status in Canada? Let's say worker. Then we'll click on next. Then what does your family member want to do in Canada? Then it says apply to remain in Canada as a visitor. Apply for extend an open work permit. He already has a work permit. Apply for or extend a study permit. He doesn't need study permit. So the correct option which looks feasible is apply to remain in Canada as a visitor. So that is what I selected in my original application as well. Does your family member want to restore their status in Canada? No, they already have a status in Canada since we have got a SOWP extension. So we will say no over here. Then we will click on next. Has your family member had a medical exam performed by IRCC within last 12 months? Let's select no over here. Again, it will give me all these options, and depending on your spouse category of where they work, depending on their job, you can select yes or no in this particular selection. So in my case, I selected no and then I clicked on next. In the past 10 years, has your family member given their fingerprint and photo for an application to come to Canada? I'll select yes over here and then I'll click on next. Then there are fees associated with your family member's application. Will you be paying your family member's fees or is your family member fee exempt? So I'll say yes, I will be paying my family member's application fees and I'll click on next. Now, do you want to submit an application for another family member? Let me select no over here. Since in our case, we are not going to submit application for anybody else. So I selected no over here. Then I'll click on next. Are you giving someone access to your application? So in our case, we are not giving access to any other person or authority or representative. So we'll select no over here and we'll click on next. In the past 10 years, have you given your fingerprints and photo biometrics for an application to come to Canada? In my case, that's a yes. And then we'll click on next. There are fees associated with this application. Will you be paying your fees? Yes, I'll be paying my application fees. And then we'll click on next. Are you able to make digital copy of your documents with the scanner or camera? Yes. Then will you be paying an application fees online? To pay online, you can use credit card. So I'll select yes over here. Then we'll click on next. So once you have all your details filled in, you can review your answers, whatever you have filled. And once you have reviewed and you feel that all these answers are correct, you can click on continue button over here. And then it says on the screen you will be asked to upload the documents. So on the next step, we will be asked to upload our documents and then we have to pay the fees. And then we will click on continue button over here on the screen. So these are the list of documents which needs to be filled in. Okay, so let's see what all documents we are supposed to fill in. So the first form that we are supposed to fill in is IMM5257E form. So this is the main form that is being filled by the PGWP applicant. And then there are supporting documents which we have to upload. So the supporting documents is recently I got my PGWP permit, and that postgraduate work permit, it came into my mail. So that was a physical copy that we received after 1 week of confirmation that we are being approved. So that is something that I need to upload here in the supporting documents. Then my passport scan copy is something that I need to upload here. And then it says use of a family member representative for online applications. So this is another form which I'm supposed to fill, IMM5713 form. So in this form, basically, since I am acting as a family member representative for my spouse, that is why I have to get this form filled. So I'll show you step by step how you can fill this particular form as well if you are applying together. Then we have to upload our marriage certificate or license. Then my digital photo is something that needs to be uploaded. Then there are certain optional documents which needs to be uploaded. Let's say application for a temporary resident visa made outside Canada. Then client information. So client information is if you have to add any other documents which are not applicable in these supporting documents which are present above. So you can write a letter or something and you can upload that to the client information form section. And then comes your family members form. So family members are the additional people who are coming along with you to the Canada. So they also have to fill certain forms. So the first form that they have to fill is IMM 5708 form. So basically it is an application to change conditions, extend or remain in Canada as a visitor or a TRV, temporary resident permit holder. So for IMM 5708, this is a form that has to be filled by your spouse. Um, then there are certain supporting documents that your spouse has to upload as well in this particular application, and that is you will need his scanned copy, his passport scan copy. And then there are certain optional documents which if required you can upload. And then the total fees for two members who are applying for this particular visitor or temporary resident visa is like $100 per person. So that will be total of $200 which you can pay through your credit card or any other cards which were mentioned earlier. So let's see step by step how to fill this particular form, IMM 5257 form, and how to upload all the documents. Okay, so the first form that you have to fill is IMM5257E, this PDF. So you can download the PDF and open in the Acrobat Reader. And once you download it, the first option that you have to fill is UCI. So make sure this is the correct form that you're filling. It says application for visitor visa, temporary resident visa. Then the first is your UCI. So you can find this UCI number on the work permit or the study permit that you have received recently. So let's say you have received recently your PGWP hard copy. On that hard copy you can find this UCI number. Then I want service in. You can select the language in which you want the service in. So I selected English over here. And then visa requested. So let's say we are requesting for a visitor visa, not for a transit visa, so I will select visitor visa over here. Then full name, so be really sure that you have to give your family name first, and then you have to give your first name, so you can fill that. Then have you ever used any other names? So let's say no in my case. Then you have to fill your date of birth. Then over here you can give your date of birth. So let's say you give your date of birth here. Then you will give your place of birth. So you have to give your city slash town where you were born. So you can give your place of birth here. And then you can give your city or territory. So sorry, country or territory where you were born. So let's say India. And what is your current citizenship? So you can give that option over here. Then your current country or territory of residence. So in my case it is Canada, so we will select Canada over here. And what is your status currently? Your status would be worker. And then you have to specify the dates from when till when. So in this case, when I got my visa, so I gave that particular date. Sorry, when I got my permit, so let's say I got my PGWP work permit on 1st of November, so I gave that date. And this permit is actually valid for another 3 years, so I will select that future date over here. So let's say we'll go and select the future date, say 2026 November 3rd, for example. Then previous countries or territories of residence during the past 5 years. Have you lived in any country or territory other than your country of citizenship, or your current country or territory of residence for more than 6 months? So in my case it was no, so I selected no over there. Then country or territory where you are applying, same as country or territory of residence, answer is yes. Your current marital status, so you have to select your current marital status, let's say married. Then if you are married or in common law relationship, so you have to provide the date of your marriage, so you can select the date of your marriage. And then you have to provide the name of your spouse, uh, give their family name, and then you have to basically give their first name as well. Then we'll move to the second page. Then on the second page you have to give your personal details. Have you previously been married or in common law relationship? Let's say no, and if you select yes, then you have to give the family name and given name of your previous spouse slash common law partner. And then native language slash mother tongue, so you can select your native language or mother tongue. Yeah, then are you able to communicate in English or French? Let's say you select English over here, since you are able to communicate in English. Then have you taken a test from a designated agency? So basically they are talking about IELTS or any other English test or French test. Have you taken it? So let's say I selected yes over here. Then you can provide your passport number over here. So they are actually asking for your passport number. Then country or territory of issue, you will select your country or territory of issue. Then they are asking your issue date. When was your passport issued? So let's say your passport was issued in 2020, so you will select the date of when was your passport issued, and then you have to select the expiry date of your passport. Once that is done, then you will go to national identity document, and over here you will select, do you have a national identity document? Depending on what is your national identity document, for me I selected yes, and then in document number I gave my passport number over here, and country of territory remained the same. So let's say country of territory is India for me, so I gave that. And then again you have to specify the issue date and the expiry date, so you can specify the issue date and the expiry date as well. Since I use the same document, I specified the same issue date and expiry date over here. Then are you a lawful permanent resident of the US? Let's say no. Then contact information, you can provide your address over here, your street name. So let's say you provide some street name, you provide the city or town where you are staying. Then you're providing the country or territory of resident. So let's say currently we are in Canada. Then province where you are staying. So select the province. Then you can put in the postal code. And then it says that is your residential address same as your mailing address? You can select yes if it's same. And then you can provide a telephone number, let's say US. Then you can provide your number over here. You can select the type, let's say cellular. You can provide your number over here. If you want to provide any alternate telephone number, that also you can provide. Then fax number, depending if you want to provide. Then email address is really important, and you have to provide the correct email address. So over here you have to give your email address. Once that is done, then on the next page it will ask details of visit to Canada. So purpose of your visit, so let's say your current purpose of the visit is returning worker. Then indicate how long you plan to stay. So basically you can mention from today's date till the visa validity. So let's say whatever was my visa validity, it is for the next 6 years. So I will select the same date for the next 6 years. And then, sorry, for the next 3 years. Then funds available for my stay, you can declare the funds that are available for your stay in CAD, in Canadian dollars. Then over here on the fourth point, it says name, address, and relationship of any person or institution I will visit. So basically over here I gave my company's name, address, address in Canada. So that is something that I filled in over here. So you can do the same, you can give the address over here. And then it comes education. Have you had any post secondary education? In my case, yes. And then I will give the dates of my post secondary education. So let's say it started in 2021 September, field of study. So you can give your field of study over here, whatever was your field of study. Then you can mention your school or university's name. So since my studies are already over, I will give the to date as well. And then city slash town where your university is located, and country will be Canada. You can fill in the province also. Then in case of employment, you can fill your current activity slash occupation, and then you can give your company's name. You can give the town, city or town, and then you can give the country or territory and province state. And then you can also provide your previous activity slash occupation. So in my case, let's say I was a teaching assistant at my university, so I provided that detail in the second column. Then thirdly, I did my co-op, so I provided that detail on the third column. So in the order, in the chronological order, you have to provide your employment details for the past 10 years. Once you have entered the details related to this, 1 2 3, so in my case the companies were more than this three options that were given to me, three rows that were given to me. So what I did was I wrote a letter and I attached it in the client information form, and I gave details about other occupations and other employment details in that particular letter, as well as I also explained to the IRCC officer that it is not coming in this 5257E form. So I have actually attached this page filled with all my details in that particular client information letter. So if you have more number of employments, what you have to do is, or what you can do is, what I did was I wrote a I wrote a letter to IRCC officer, and I gave all my employment details, and I filled only this particular page with the past employment details, and I attached it to the client information section, which I showed you guys earlier, which is there in your application. That is something that you can also do if required. Then it says background information. So you must complete this section if you are 18 years age or older. So there are certain questions related to diseases or something, and you can check out those questions and you can answer accordingly. So let's say 1A, you can select no. It says family member ever had tuberculosis. Do you have any physical or mental disorder? Let's say no. Then have you ever remained beyond the validity of status? Let's say no. Have you ever been refused a work permit, visa, or a permit? Let's say no. Have you previously applied to remain in Canada? Let's say yes. Over here, you can give that yes, I applied earlier. So I applied for student visa, and then I applied for my PGWP application as well, for my PGWP permit as well. So these are the two times I applied. Then have you ever committed, been arrested? Let's say no. Then did you ever serve in military? No. Are you or have you ever been a member or associated with any political party? Let's say no. Then have you ever witnessed or participated in the ill treatment of prisoners? No. Do you consent? Then you can read the what is mentioned over here. You can go through that particular 3 4 lines, and then it says, do you consent to be contacted by CIC or an organization at CIC's request in the future? Let's say yes. And then you can sign over here and give your complete signature over here, and you can select today's date. So once you have filled this form completely, you can click on this validate button. And once you validate this particular form, it will generate certain barcode. Since it cannot be validated currently because I have not filled it completely. So once you fill it completely, you will be given an option to validate. And once you click on validate and then you save it, once you validate and save it, then you can upload this particular form on your application. The next form that you have to fill is family member representative for online application form. So basically, this is the form where, yeah, the family member representative is, let's say, the student, or who was the student, or let's say in my case, I'm the family member representative. I'm going to represent my spouse, and that's why we are applying for this application together. So over here, my surname will go, and then in the given name, we will enter my name. Then information on the family members. Over here, you can give the information about your family members, and then relationship to family member representative, so let's say spouse, and then the date of birth of your spouse. So that is something that you can enter. So you can enter the date of birth of your family member. So once this is being done, then in section B it says granting permission to the family member representative. So each family member 18 years of age and older listed in section A. So in section A, this is the family member name that we have represented. That who is going to be represented is written over here. They have to sign and date this section to appoint the family member chosen to represent them. So basically, you can ask your spouse to sign over here, and the date they can provide current date when they are signing this particular form. And then in section C, it says declaration of family member representative. I declare that the information I've given is truthful, complete, and correct. So you are going to put your sign over here in this signature section, and then you are going to provide today's date when you are going to file your application. So this is how you fill IMM5713E form. So that's it for today. I hope you liked today's video and it will be useful for you guys. So I have shared how you can fill these two form, IMM5257E and IMM5713E forms, which were the part of your application and other documents which you have to upload. And if you need any other information or any kind of, or you if you have any kind of queries, you can post them in the comment section. I'll try to answer as many queries as possible. Thank you. Bye bye. Please consider subscribing to our channel. Bye.